Intelligent Ramblings with your host, Bill Lofton. Co-hosted by Gary Glenn and William Howington with help from John Cohn.
Good evening and welcome to Intelligent Ramblings. I'm Bill Lofton. I'm your host with my co-host John Cohn, William Howington, and Mr. Gary Glenn. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight? Have we survived the last couple days or last week? We've had a lot going on in our world, and we'll start with that. President Trump has, I don't know if it's threatened or whatever would be the correct word, but he has said that he is thinking about getting rid of FEMA. Now, does it cost a lot of money? Yeah. Try on this for the price tag. $31 billion of taxpayer money goes to FEMA. What do you guys think? Is it worth $31 billion?
What do they do with that $31 billion?
Well, they provide lodging. If you're temporary lodging, if your house gets wiped out by a storm, rental assistance, home repairs, accessibility needs, medical and dental. They can help with the injuries caused by the disaster. Funeral, FEMA will help with funeral, reburial expenses. If you've come up floating up in New Orleans. Miscellaneous items, FEMA can help with the cost of items you purchase or rent to help with recovery. Transportation, moving and storage. The assistant, a substitute, is not a substitute for insurance. If your house gets wiped out, you will have to file a claim, and then FEMA will work with you after that. And speaking from personal experience, I went through a tornado, not tornado, come on, get with the world. Hurricane. I went through a hurricane when I lived up in Virginia about 9 years ago now, and it was pretty devastating. It was like a storm that part of Virginia hadn't seen in 100 years. And we had trees in the middle of our street. Took us 8 hours to cut our way out with chainsaws, to cut a lane so people could get through. We had no power for 18 days, which meant no hot showers, no cooking, yada, 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 yada. And FEMA, I just went down there and applied real fast. Didn't take a whole lot of time. About 2-3 days, I had a generator. FEMA basically gave me a piece of paper that said, take that down to wherever, Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever place, and get yourself a generator. And so I had a generator for the next 16 days, and it helped me get through the storm. That wasn't a lot. But we had no damage to the house, and but from personal experiences, they did what I needed to have to keep me going. But is it worth $31 billion? That's a lot of money.
Well, it is a lot of money. One of the other things they also organize power line crews. All of the logistics that goes into getting things restored after the storm, they help organize and direct that, and they do a good job of it. FEMA, really quick, a little bit of history. FEMA was created in 1978 by President Jimmy Carter, and it was implemented began in 1979 by way of 2 executive orders. It was never legislated into existence, but there was a real need for it, and so it's been up and running since 1979. And the previous director, who left at the end of the Biden administration, her name was Deanne Criswell. There's an interim director as of like earlier this week. His name's Cameron Hamilton. and the proposed future director is a guy named Kevin Guthrie. If you look at their qualifications, the interim director is actually better qualified. He's been on the job at FEMA for some time than the proposed director, Kevin Guthrie. One other thing, really quick, and then I'll get out of the way. We're going to need FEMA in the future more than we have up to this point. Disaster recovery is going to be more and more important. Forecasting, dealing with evacuations, recovery after the fact. We're going to need to lean on FEMA more in the future than we have up to now.
Well, I've got a little bit of a personal connection with FEMA. A guy that I used to work with was considered him a very good friend of mine back in my radio days. He got out of the media and went to work for FEMA. He's a stand-up guy and smart, bright. He's the kind of guy you want to have on your side. So, I mean, $31 billion is a lot of money, but we've got a big country, and some of these disasters. How many billions of dollars is this wildfire thing going to cost in California? I mean, that's a pretty good chunk right there.
Yeah, I wonder how much does it cost to run FEMA if no disasters happen? What does that figure? And why can't they just take money as they need it? Why do we have to have a 31 billion budget?
Because at this point we're spending more than 31 billion.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The disasters brought on by climate change are strengthening, and because of that, we need more money. 31 billion is just where it's at right now. It's going up, and it's going to go up and up and up and up as long as we don't do anything to counteract global warming.
Well, as long as they do something, I've heard rumors that in Western North Carolina, there hadn't been a whole lot done. No, I don't know. I'm not on the ground.
Well, I was. I drove through it 3 weeks ago. I drove through Western North Carolina, and I went through some of the cities that were hard hit, and you could tell that they were hard hit. Everything's closed, but the road is going through. FEMA's been there. I mean, if people are going to whine and bitch about everything, and if you're not getting exactly what you need, you're going to complain. But what they're trying to do is help the people in California with the fires, help people with the Helene did in Western North Carolina, help the people with Helene did in Florida, and the people in Florida with the storm that came before Helene. That was there 2 weeks ahead of time. So you can only do so much. And we're having these natural disasters more and more and more and more, and we always will, until something's done to counteract it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm all for food and water, but I don't see how you can't pay for somebody's complete restoration of their belongings. That's got to be privately done.
Well, of course. That's what insurance is for. And what FEMA does is just help out in the temporary, and then sometimes help out more.
Well, and the other case for that is that they're going to have to step in and fill the gap where you have places that are like California where they couldn't get insurance. What do you do now?
And FEMA, if you got a $200,000, if you got a $500,000 home in
Yeah.
California and it burns down, they're not going to give you $500,000. They're going to give you $10,000. They're going to give you money to stay in a hotel until you can figure out what you're going to do. They're not going to pay for your whole house. It ain't like that.
No.
I mean,
I agree with that.
a buddy of mine lives in Florida in Tampa Bay, and Helene went right through there. That wasn't it. His damage was done in the storm before Helene. I can't remember the name. And he had water up to his waist in his house. And he got like $3,000 or $4,000. That's all he got from FEMA.
Well, it's
And
just supposed to be a stopgap measure. It's not supposed to be a total restoration of
No.
the way things were.
not at all.
No.
Feed
Well,
them food,
it
you know,
depends.
food and water come in. Coordination
Ah.
of power, water, gas, all that kind of stuff. I go along with that, but now if it's just another one of these money pits, I don't agree with it.
Well, I haven't really, to tell you the truth, seen a spreadsheet or balance sheet on FEMA, what they are allotted and what they spent. I mean, you don't want to be one of these government agencies that just spend it because you got it. If you need it and spend it, fine. But some of these programs are set up where if you don't spend your whole budget, you don't get it next year.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They don't need a $31 billion budget. They need a budget just to run the show. Like I said, if no disasters happen, how much does it cost?
I don't know.
Should just be in the few hundred million, shouldn't it? Pay for the director and the whatever. I know one time Fort in Atlanta, what was that for? Army Depot, U.S. Army Depot, Fort Gillem was a supply station for fabricated houses or trailers, I guess they were. And they were stored there in case they were needed. And I don't know if that's still going on or not. They change as much as the wind blows. So,
but don't we have a GEMA, a Georgia Emergency Management Agency?
oh yeah,
We do.
Yeah.
Most of the states do, and they model their operation after FEMA, and try to do the same things.
Well, and then they should coordinate all of that. I'm sure there would be some room to tighten some things up, but to abolish the whole agency, I don't think it's a wise choice.
well, I didn't say
Yeah, I'll go
abolish
back
the
to
whole
what I
agency.
said before. I think we're going to need FEMA more rather than less in the future, unfortunately.
Absolutely agree. And to think about undoing it would just devastate many people.
Yeah, not just the people that work for FEMA. It'll affect the people that they minister to, for lack of a better term.
Right. Well, somebody's got to pay these power crews. I don't know where that money comes from. My son-in-law is on these emergency power crews. Every time there's an ice storm or a hurricane, he goes out in these other states. He's gone as far as Texas and put up power. So I don't know where he gets paid. I know he gets paid.
Yeah.
I guess that comes from each state or maybe FEMA. Somebody pays him.
Hey, we got Shalom saying hello.
Who's that?
Shalom
Hey.
Uri Garfield. William, have you seen the clown that hides from dumb people? Does that make any sense to y'all?
William, have you seen the clown that hides from dumb people?
Sounds like a pretty weird
Are they-
statement, Shalom. Wherever you're,
Are
wherever you're
they
from.
hiding? They're hiding from us?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Am
know.
I the dumb person?
Explain that to us, Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom. Explain that to us. Anyway, speaking of saving money, how are these tariffs that is going to, they're starting off with here in the new administration, how are these tariffs going to affect us?
Oh, well,
Well-
if they're enacted, the price of stuff's going to go up. Because the other countries are going to retaliate. Now, some of this may be a bargaining chip like Trump did with the Colombians,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the price of
So-
drugs and coffee beans will go up with those tariffs to Colombia.
I don't think Colombia's going to be going up on anything right now. I think he shocked the monkey when it comes to Colombia. He said, if you don't take these people back that we're sending you by military aircraft, then we're going to slap a 25% tariff on anything that comes from your country. Period. Hours later,
Well,
they said, hey, forget
Bring 'em
about that
on.
tariff. Bring them on. Bring them on. Let them land. So I don't think we got to worry about our coffee too much coming from Colombia or anything else
Well,
coming from Colombia.
and,
You think
and
it's a
some of
tool?
this,
Is this a tool
yeah, part,
that he
Yeah.
can
part
threaten?
of it is.
He can threaten people
Part of
with.
it is. Yes, absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. And let's face it. And the one thing that Trump realizes and his advisors realize, of course, it all comes back to Trump, is the fact. And I've seen this written somewhere, and I think it might have been Wall Street Journal or New York Times, maybe New York Times. These other countries need us more than we need them.
Yeah.
Flat truth. I mean, we import some stuff that we make pretty good right here. Now, sometimes we can import it cheaper than what we can make it, depending on whether or not you want to buy American. But I mean, come on,
Well,
we could really
we
could really
Rex,
suck everything back into ourselves and get
I
along
got a
just
thought.
fine.
I got a thought, Gary. If we were to tariff these people out of existence like Chinese, which meant that we could get it built in America, don't you think they could build it cheaper in America because they're getting to sell more? Because China is not sending it here anymore? If we just cut off Chinese, say, coffee cups. Coffee cups in America cost, say, $15. You can buy them from China for $10. Now, if we cut China off completely, the people in America could sell theirs for $10 because they're selling more.
I don't know that they would
Yeah.
do that though. They might keep it at $15.
Well,
But,
and
I
the
mean,
thing about it is, could you employ a workforce to produce enough of that? There's a lot of moving parts here in any kind of an economy. I'm not nearly as conversant as this with John, as John is, but there's a lot of things that you got to consider. For example, the other day, it was presented to me, and I thought about this. A strong dollar might actually hurt our trade because the fact that if the dollar is strong, that means that the other countries have to pay more, and sometimes they're reluctant to pay more.
Well, they won't get anything then.
True, but then
Well,
we
there's
won't we won't be selling anything either.
Yeah. Can't we figure it out to where we could sell enough to take care of our own needs and not ship them to China or send our stuff to the Netherlands or Ghana or wherever?
Well, there's alternatives
what's-
to tariffs and embargoes that would involve, prioritizing and subsidizing the businesses, the industries in this country that, there's like a national interest in being able to build semiconductors in this country. Well, do what they were doing during the Biden administration and in other administrations, where they subsidize the manufacture of semiconductors and support that industry, and it's a better, more productive option than tariffs and embargoing people's goods from coming into your country.
No, Andrea, so should everyone make their own goods and should we have no international trade? No, we can have international trade. I'm just saying, can we just make enough for us and not worry about international trade? I mean, we can make anything that you can buy anywhere in this country. Why do I wouldn't have a problem with no international trade, although I wouldn't be able to get very good Swiss cheese. But other than that, I mean, are there certain things that we couldn't get? Coffee, we trade for the things that we need, but quit bringing so much in that it's blowing out the market here. Like I said, I think last week, you walk through Walmart now, I challenge you to walk through Walmart and find 5 items, not including food, 5 items in Walmart that's not made in China. I challenge whoever's watching this to go out there and look, because you're not going to find it.
I agree. China doesn't pay their workers anything, and they can make stuff cheap, and that's trying to compete with Americans who have these unions and stuff that have to pay workers, and maybe it's better quality. Like you look at like Bill Gates and Elon Musk, they're worth almost $1 trillion each. Why are they making so much money? I mean, they're selling stuff at a high enough cost, and obviously are competing with these Chinese. I don't understand. We've got people here making a huge amount of money, and these tariffs will make it so that they'll make even more.
Oh, well, with Elon Musk, just go to PayPal and punch in a search box and look for, or eBay, and look for anything that your mind can conceptualize a good that you, and type it in, and I promise you there'll be 10 listings for whatever it is. A spoon, sterling steel spoon, a sterling silver spoon with a lion head on top of it. I bet you can find 10 of them on PayPal right now. Well, people use PayPal, and PayPal is Elon Musk. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, Elon was one of the co-founders of PayPal, but
Yeah.
he was invited to leave and actually wasn't there pretty much right after it launched.
Well, that's where he made his money.
He made a bunch of money. He did.
He made a bunch,
shit
yeah,
ton
he
of
did.
money.
Started out with family money, which, good for him. Nice family.
Maybe.
Well, our problem is Andre says we can't make anything as cheap as the Chinese. That's probably true.
Indonesia, Vietnam, all these places, we can't compete with them.
Well, they're making
Let me-
$2 an hour.
Well, let me
That's
tell you,
why you
they're
need a
not-
tariff.
Well, if you do that,
Nope.
then some of the other prices are going to go up. Just be prepared for that. If that's what you want, then fine. My
Well,
son went over to a few years ago, was in mainland China, Beijing and Shanghai. And he said, they're really not supposed to have those sweatshops anymore, but he had some pictures, and it sure looked like they were still doing that. Whole bunch of girls and women in one room, and they're all making T-shirts over and over and over and over, and they're probably not paying them hardly anything, which is why you can buy those for so cheap. In America, you can't do that. So, okay, yeah, we could bring everything. We could bring everything we probably need, and we probably find some way somewhere in one of our southern states or Hawaiian Islands or somewhere, grow us some coffee. We could probably do anything. Just be prepared to pay more for it, because you're not going to get. You're not going to get some Americans to work for $5 an hour or $2.
Go to the store right
or
now and
$1
buy
an hour.
yourself some Hawaiian Kona coffee. Go to the store right now and buy some Hawaiian Kona coffee and see what it costs you. A big old jar like you find the Maxwell House in. Those big plastic things that you can get for like somewhere between $10 and $15. Go buy some Kona, and you'll see that it's like $30 for what you pay $10 for.
My point.
That's the problem.
Exactly my point.
Well, we don't have to tariff coffee. We can tariff goods that we.
So like
Or
Gary said, it's a
superfluous.
tool. It's like Gary said, it's a tool. It's a tool that he's using.
I'm
Well,
just
it's
saying.
a tool, but it's a pretty bad tool. And there are a lot better trade policies that you can use to effect what you want to do. If you want to, like I said before, if there are businesses and industries that you want to promote, that we need for some strategic reason in this country, then do that. But tariffs aren't going to do that. And there, like I said, I'll just go back to, there are better trade policies out there than tariffs and embargoes. We've tried them in the past. They don't work so great.
Well,
So
guys,
what you're saying, John, is that Trump is a pretty bad tool? Is that what y'all hear you say?
he's a tool, all right.
No, let's don't go there.
Putting words in my mouth.
Anyway,
He's
On to-
trying. He's trying to get the economy in order.
keep believing that shit. Let's go to WTF. I'm being nice tonight. I'm not saying the F bomb. WTF is up with college football. I'm gonna read a quote from a great a writer that I saw online. We have already had one professional football championship when Ohio State beat Notre Dame. Why has college football become what it is with NIL money and a transfer portal where kids can change schools like they change their underwear? What does that mean for the future of intercollegiate athletics? Dude, you can go to college for 5 years basically, with all the other rules they got now, and you can go to play football at 5 different colleges.
Yep.
And they're easily. That's almost the damn norm. And the kicker is, you can make millions of dollars. Whoever's willing to pay the higher price, and this is going to happen, where you got a 5-star elite player is going to do this to see how high they can get up in the NIL.
Oh, it's already happening. It's
These
already
kids are
happening.
making. What do you think Carson Beck made last year in NIL?
I
think
can
he-
tell you
enough
what
to
he's
buy-
going to make this year playing for Miami.
Enough-
He's going to make $4.5 million.
That's
Well,
insane.
Enough to buy a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, come
Do you
Well,
on.
think
you
he
know-
was worth? Do you think he's worth the $2 million he got at Georgia?
Well,
No,
yeah.
I'll answer it for you.
It's
Well, nobody.
it's
nobody's overpaid. If somebody's willing to give you the money, take it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
It's very possible he'll make more next year at Miami than he will in his first year after he's drafted into the NFL. If he goes to the NFL, he may
I
not
think
get
that's
paid
a
as
real
well
good
as he
chance of
was
that.
at Miami.
And I think the reason he went to Miami, John, is exactly what you said. Let's face it, he didn't have a horrible, horrible year at Georgia, but he didn't have a breakout year, a great year either. So he's going to go play for Miami for 2 reasons. One is that what you just said, the $4.5 million. The second reason is he's hoping he'll play better at Miami and up his stock in the NFL. This is all, we for
And
many
he's
years.
got a girlfriend down there.
Well,
for
main reason
many
Carson
years-
Beck. Main reason Carson Beck. I'll say it real quick, Gary, and then go back to your point. Main reason Carson Beck didn't have a great year is he didn't have Brock, and he didn't have the kid from Murray County,
Lad McConkey.
Ad McConkey and Brock Bowers. He didn't have those two, and that's why he didn't have as good a year. Because all he had to do was throw it in the near area where they were, and they'd find it and snatch it up and take off. Look at them, both of them,
Well,
all pro.
Yeah.
And he lost both of
And
them,
he
and it made him different.
Well,
And he was
that's the reason
feminine whipped.
Football. So it's the reason football is the ultimate team sport. You got an arm like you can bend zone to end zone, but if you haven't got receivers who can catch the ball or a line who can protect you, so what? My point is that for years and years, college football has been a minor league for the NFL. It's just one they didn't have to pay for, and now somebody does.
Well, it's you and I with our
Well,
TV
we're going to pay. We're
fees.
going to pay for more, and the ticket prices now are outrageous. At any sporting event that you can imagine, including college football, you used to go for a fairly reasonable amount of money, $10 or something a ticket. Now try to do that; they'd laugh at you. You can't even hardly do that in a high school football game anymore.
No.
It's just all of this money. It's money, money, money. Hey, if somebody tells you it's not about the money, reach for your wallet, because 9 times out of 10, it's about the money.
It's all about
Follow the money. It's all about it. That's exactly right. So, and I don't fault these kids. I mean, like I said, somebody will sit there and give you a chunk of money. Yeah, you're going to take it. They're a kid. I'm just not sure how we got here, because
So quickly.
part of it part of it is the existing paradigm in society, which is all about me. But part of that is that
Me, myself, and I.
People have shown you no loyalty, so why should I show you any loyalty? I mean, you know, our fathers, well, with the exception of mine, who had about 5 different jobs, but a lot of people's dads, like my father-in-law worked for one company basically his whole working life. And they were loyal to him and he was loyal to them. Now try to find that. Try to find a company that's going to be loyal to you so that you are loyal to them in return. It's what have you done for me lately?
Mm-hmm. Andrea asked a good question. I would like to respond to it. Andrea, there are still student athletes in college, but many of the football players are in, let's call them alternate programs of study. And so they have tutors, they are on a different schedule, their exams are different, their coursework is different. So no, they don't suffer because they're playing football. They adjust their academics around football.
They have to make the grade. If they don't make the grade, even if it's 3 PE classes, they won't play.
Yeah, they're ineligible according to the NCAA.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have to
Well,
be on-
I'll put it the way Stetson Bennett put it when somebody asked him a question like this. He said, "We didn't come here to play college. We came here to play football," and that sums it up right there. It's a whole different ball game.
And some of these guys
there's
are,
even
are
talk of
scholars.
making them. Well, yeah, there's some people who've used the Rhodes Scholars has come out of athletes. You don't have to be a fool to be a good athlete. I mean, you know, but it's so easy for them not to have to study and things like that. I mean, look at, you know, you had people like, you remember Terry Hogue that played for Georgia? That guy was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes, I had a class with him. He never came to class. He just took the test. It was a physics class.
Yeah, because he was brilliant.
And he's probably getting tutored, so he didn't have to come to class.
I don't think he needed tutoring. He was pretty smart.
Yeah, he just probably read the book on his own. And that, you know, in college, they don't care if you come to class. They just care if you pass.
Our
there's even
nephews
talk now
go ahead.
There's talk of having majors. They're talking to have majors. We major in sport. You're gonna an out. You're gonna major in sports.
Sports management or something, another where you can manage your own money and.
Mm-hmm.
They have those classes already. I'm just talking about sports in general. I'm sure they've developed some kind of curriculum. Part of sports management would be part of that, managing your money. A part of it would be the philosophy of the forward pass or something like. I mean, you know, there's all kinds of ways that you can get a degree, but that would be your degree.
And to their credit, there still are guys that play football. Division I, CFP level football that are legit great students. And my hat is off to them because I have no idea how they accomplish that.
Well, a friend of mine's son graduated with a 4.0 degree at Georgia Tech. He played baseball for 4 or 5 years. I think he played 5 years because of that COVID. And graduated with a legitimate degree from Georgia Tech too, not a management of some sort. It was some science thing. I don't know. I don't want to say because I don't really remember. But now he's in medical school at Emory.
Awesome.
Well, there's plenty of people that use it as a tool to get around with. This was in the past before the NIL, but you remember what the North Hall boy Dan Jackson said when he asked about, didn't he feel like he deserved a scholarship? He said, "I don't need it." He was making NIL money, so he said, "No, I'll give it to somebody else who needs it. I don't need it." Which I admire that.
Dan Jackson, man, we're going to miss that kid.
Do you think that we need to make some changes in this NIL? I heard it was where you could transfer twice, and that's it. And they're also looking at making the portal only once a year, around January 1st, right after the end of the national championship.
I think you could tighten this up a little bit to make it so it's just not ridiculous.
Yeah, it needs some
You know,
tweaking. There's no doubt about that.
I had no problem with having to sit out for a while after you made that transfer.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
I
hard.
think
It's really hard for a coach to build on talent, to try to build talent up, and they're only there for a year, then they're gone. Now in the NBA, in the NBA, is a little different. You can jump after what is it? Is it your freshman year now?
Yeah, and basketball.
Yeah, you just jump straight.
Yeah,
to
they
the
can go
NBA.
pro.
But the NBA, I mean, you're talking with a squad of what, 15 guys maybe,
12.
and 12 to 15 guys versus the enormous numbers for football. See, football's a different animal. It's a different thing. It's the straw that stirs the drink. It's so big, it's so massive, it's got so much money involved in it, and it takes so many athletes to play it. It's just different. But still, I think you can, within reason, and I would be averse to saying, you have to sit out for a while if you do all this crazy jumping around, or maybe, as you said, limit it to two schools, and then you go pro or do whatever you want to do after that.
Okay, guys. Issues. I got issues. Let me start it off like this. John, what is the number one issue in the United States today?
Well, Bill, I'm so glad you asked me that question. I put a lot of thought into this, and I know I've got 1 minute, and I came up with a list of
50 seconds.
7 issues, and I see 2 issues that are directly related to each other that seem to be the most important ones that we should deal with. One is income and wealth inequality and how it's divided our society, 1% versus 99%, the haves and the have-nots. And the two-party political system, which has failed us as voters. The parties have both been captured by wealth. They polarize us, and they get the results they want. We get to vote, but the fact that the 1%.
1 minute.
Okay, there you have it.
All right. The two-party system. Do you think it's working?
No. I think it's working for the donor class, for the people that can't afford to pay for access and influence of the people that we vote for. But it's the 1% that's really controlling the agenda. They're dividing us as people, and they're dividing us against ourselves. And what should happen is the 99% needs to get together and deal with the 1% most firmly. And I think it needs to change. And there's so much that follows after changing that for the better.
Well, tell me if we went by the popular vote instead of the electoral college, do you think that would kind of even things out?
Probably not.
Right now,
if you're asking me, because the parties have, in the states where one party or the other is in control, they've gerrymandered the districts to the point where not everybody is represented, and they create a situation where they can get themselves elected, even though if you broke the voting districts down differently, they would never get elected. So,
well, do you know that 90+% of all the money that was spent on the presidential campaign this year was spent in like 7 states?
I believe that. The swing states.
The swing states. 90+% of all money spent on the presidential election was spent on those 7 states.
Wisconsin, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Virginia,
Georgia.
North Carolina, Georgia.
if we could go back to the popular vote, they would have to campaign in Toccoa, Georgia. They'd have to campaign in Roswell. They'd have to go to Valdosta. They couldn't just go to Atlanta. I think the popular vote. I think the popular vote is the way we need to go.
Then people
Andrea
don't,
has a
people
good
would only,
question.
What is it?
What's she say?
Do you think campaign finance reform of some type would help a third party succeed?
I think
we
it's
got
part
other
of a
parties.
solution.
Maybe someday, but it's the two-party system is so entrenched now. And then the Electoral College was put in place to prevent what was called the founding fathers feared the tyranny of the masses. In other words, then you wouldn't have anybody campaigning in Georgia if you did a popular vote. Everybody would campaign in California, Texas, and New York, because you're trying to get the most people to vote for you. They would hit all the populous states, and they wouldn't give a damn about South Dakota or any of those rest of that stuff.
30 seconds on this topic. Quick, anybody got something?
Are
Well,
you
I
going to
think
go to
Andrew's
each one of
comment
us?
about campaign finance reform applies, but I'll go back to what I said before. We are divided against ourselves. We need to turn this around and join together and change the fact that the 1% controls wealth, the political system, you name it, in this country. And we need to change that. And we can't do it unless we're together.
Absolutely. William, what's your issue?
Well, I think mine is the cost of living. I'm having to work 2 jobs just to make ends meet, and those ends aren't meeting too good. It's amazing. 10 years ago, I was all right. Now, the prices of everything, and of course, it's all tied into things, tariffs, inflation, whatever. But I don't know that 5 years from now, I'll be able to make it. I mean, this insurance is high, cost of goods, especially food and gasoline and stuff. It's just, I can't afford to buy a new vehicle. I'm having to drive mine until the wheels fall off. Another vehicle just like mine would cost $60,000. That's ridiculous. That's twice as much as the first house I bought. So cost of living is a big thing. I'm really worried that I'm not going to be able to survive. And I can't just go out there and get a high-paying job. I mean, that's not going to work. I'm almost 70 years old. Who's going to hire me? And who's going to hire me in a high-dollar job? It just isn't going to happen.
Absolutely agree. I mean, number one, you walk into apply for a place and you tell them you're over 55 years old, and bam, that you're done. I mean, they don't want to hear anything else from you unless you're doing some sort of job like scientist or something like that. I mean, I can get away as a photographer shooting at 68, but you know, I can't go down to the Atlanta Journal and say I want to apply for a job because they'd look at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, the cost of goods right now are off the chain.
And you don't get any help from cost of living, COLA, from Social Security or retirement money.
Social Security goes up like 1%, 2%, maybe 3% a year.
And that's only like $10 or $15.
Yeah, $10 or $15, a month extra you get, which doesn't cover diddly do.
No, it doesn't even cover the cost of a quarter of a tank. I filled up today and it was $80.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
Well, you ought to shop at Ingles. I filled up today and I paid $2.49 a gallon.
I think I paid $2.79 and that still cost me $80. And I got a 30-gallon tank.
Well, you got to, speaking to all you seniors out there, you got to figure out ways to lessen that. You got to look online for all these deals for seniors. That helps. One of the reasons I shop at Ingles and it costs more than the rest of the grocery stores around here, is I got my Engel card and it takes off a certain amount at the register, and then I can go out to their gas station and fill up my car for 30 cents less than what it cost the normal person.
Yeah.
But I built up to that by shopping there on a regular basis. I mean, that's just a
Well,
hint.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gary.
Other places have things like that too. Kroger does some of that too. They used to be able to buy pretty cheap gas at Kroger.
Yeah, Walmart.
Yeah, we got a Sam's Club card. We got it mainly for the gas.
You've got to hunt around to find those little golden niches that you can scoop up as a senior. Because as I was telling some guy today, I've got silver sneakers.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
I had a membership to Planet Fitness, and I went in there today and I said, I want to cancel my membership. The guy kind of looked at me. I said, I got silver sneakers. And he went, oh. And which I can use there. And rather than having to pay monthly for my Planet Fitness now, I just walk in there and go, bip. And they've got me reclassified as a classic edition of Planet Fitness. And I looked up on the computer of silver sneakers or places I could go use that. It's amazing how many gyms, and there's a place over in Clarksville that's got swimming pool and a tennis court, and it's got a basketball court and all that good stuff that you would want to keep fit. And it's 12 minutes down the road from me. And I'm
And you get in
enjoying
there
that.
with your silver sneaker?
Yep, get in there with silver sneakers for nothing.
I've been using that for years now. One of the few perks about getting older.
One of the few.
You do get a
well,
few things like that.
I told a guy that one of the perks of that's one of the few perks of getting older. I said another one is I can talk to I talk to people different, and they just look at me and go, "Oh, don't worry about him. He's just old. Isn't he cute? Ain't he cute?" You know, young people. That's where they. So I can say pretty much whatever the hell I want to say, whenever I want to say it, which I pretty much done my whole life anyway. But now, as an old guy, they just don't pay attention to me.
Well, you get a free drink at Chick-fil-A, but the cost of the sandwich and the fries is about $10. So it's not like a whole lot of.
You can't eat nothing for less than $10, Garrett. I mean, William.
No.
You can't go to McDonald's. You can't go to Burger King, where the service really sucks now. The fast food is a what's the word for it? Misnomer? Is that right?
Yeah.
There is no such thing as fast food now. Now it's food that's semi-warm with an attitude.
Well, Chick-fil-A does a good job, but like I said, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Well, everything is
And
expensive.
I remember you guys remember the times when we would go to Burger King on Baxter Street and $1 and a nickel, Whopper fry and Coke.
Yeah. Yeah, but back
those
then,
days are gone forever.
back then though, you were making
$2 an hour.
if you made $3.50 $4 an hour, you were doing well. But the problem is your $3.50 to $4 is now gone to minimum about $12 to $15 for the same type job, but the dollar is gone to a $6, $10 and a nickel for a hamburger and a Coke.
No, at least.
It's just outgrown the money we're making is not and can't be compared to how fast the money's gone up, what it costs.
No, it's
I know, John,
inflation
you
has
can say
hit
that.
us.
You can say that a lot better than I can, but
Oh, that was fun. We have a
can't-
couple new comments that we might want to
All right.
hit.
let's see.
How do you get those comments up there?
Do you think?
Well, we already talked about that one.
Yeah, we
The
talked about
next
that
one
one.
from Andrea is good.
Okay.
We got
Right,
two
what's the
more
next
after
Okay.
that one.
Here we go. Come play pickleball and exercise class with Silver Sneakers at Jefferson Rec.
All right.
Well, hey, listen. I would love to come play pickleball and exercise class. Andrea, shoot me a text at intelligentramblings.com and go to our website and drop me a comment and tell me where to go, because I'm looking for a group.
She'll tell you where to go.
I'm not a. Thanks, William. I've been looking for a group that I could tie into, that I could play basketball with or pickleball with or something like that. Because, I mean, you go and play basketball by yourself, it's fun for about 3 minutes and you're tired. But if you're playing in a game, you can compete. I would love that. So
They probably
please
got
let me know.
pickleball in the core.
Tommy Morris is new to the stream. What are we discussing? Well, so far tonight, Tommy, we have covered President Trump is talking about getting rid of FEMA, and we're kind of wondering why. And then we talked about the tariffs that are coming up and how much that's going to affect us. And for a few seconds there, we talked about what the fuck is going on with college football. I couldn't hold it. I had to say it. It has gotten weird with college football. It's just like, could you imagine this 10 years ago?
No.
Even imagine this?
No.
What's going on with college football right now? No, you couldn't imagine that shit.
No,
Nobody knows.
and it's all
It's crazy.
all because of the money.
Money. It's
You
all
know,
about money.
Back in the 70s, you were lucky to get on TV once or twice a season, and now
Yeah.
unless every one of your games is televised, everyone is televised. You're pissed off.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
I watch every Georgia game. Why would the hell would I go through that crowd and mess with that stuff when I don't have to? Oh,
Well, I'd like to go through the crowd, but it's hard to get tickets.
Mhm.
Tommy wants to think thoughts on the transfer portal. Well, I like it and I don't like it. If a kid like goes to Georgia and he's a 5-star player, and he sits on the bench for 2 years, and he's not getting in at all, would I sit there and I was a 5-star athlete? No, I'd transfer. But on the other end of that, you got these kids are not. They don't have gratitude. They don't have team spirit. They don't have, I'm a Georgia football player, period. And you need guys to play against the first string to make them good. But there's no, what am I looking for, guys?
There's no loyalty, and there's
Loyalty.
a lot more
And
incentive to go for the money if you can
It's all
go
about
get it
money.
in the portal.
And without loyalty, you have no continuity in your program either.
Well, they ought to be able to transfer, but they have to sit out a year like they used to. That would make them think about it, I think. I don't know about the money situation, but I can't imagine if you've been on the bench somewhere, somebody's going to offer you any money somewhere else.
Teddy Pete, let's sing a happy birthday, guys, to Wilbur. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy
birthday,
dear
Wilbur. Happy birthday to
birthday
you.
to you.
All right,
That's-
Wilbur.
Wilbur,
Yeah.
happy birthday, dude.
Happy birthday.
And welcome to the channel, Teddy P. Tommy, going back to thoughts on transfer portal, it's got its good and it's got its bad. A continuous program, it's hard to build that. You got to think about the loyalty to your school. That's kind of tossed out the window when you got loyalty or you got money. You know, it's all a money thing, and that's how I feel about it. I think it's changed college football, and I think I would do without it if I had a choice. Absolutely. I mean, these kids get flown to these schools and courted and treated like kings by the schools and taking to dinners and taking the night out and showing them Athens and doing all that stuff for them, and then they bring them in, spend a crap load of money recruiting them, and when they get there, they're there 1 year and go, I didn't get to play, I'm gone. Well, 10th grade in high school, I sat on the bench the whole game. I mean, that was part of it. You know, I paid my dues, and I was a starter my junior and senior year. But that's part of it. And the people that sit there for 4 years, they're important. They're very important, and they always will be important because those first teamers have to have somebody to practice against. So those guys that never got a down in Georgia's 2 years of winning the national championship were as important as those guys that actually played the game. And I believe that till the day I die.
Oh, yeah.
You got to
Yeah,
have those guys.
You got to have the backups. There's no doubt about it. And you never know when you're going to get in because, I mean, look at the quarterback situation at Georgia. Beck went down, and there you go. You had to have a backup.
Yep.
And it's like that at every position. If you're a wide receiver at Georgia, you got a chance to get in there because they're always getting hurt.
I mean, look
Let
at
me
that kid.
throw this in about walk-ons really specifically, and so there's a revenue sharing plan that's part of the House versus NCAA decision, and it pretty much eliminates walk-ons from college football, which is a really sad event.
Oh yeah.
There aren't going to be more guys like Stetson Bennett, for example, who walked on, or Dan Jackson. We were talking about him earlier. Walk on, and it shouldn't be that way.
Should be that
No.
way.
It's
But
an
it's a
amateur
whole different
sport,
world.
not professional, and they need to be treated like an amateur sport, not young professionals.
Well, even that is.
I think
even
it's
that is
becoming a
fudged now.
professional league, though.
Oh yeah, it is.
It
I think
is.
it is all about the money, and we're going to see. Promise you this right now: we're going to see sponsorship and possible ownership, private ownership of college football teams. The leagues are going to be sponsored, the teams are going to be owned, and it's going to go exactly the way it goes in the pros.
Yeah, it'd be
they're
the
just
SEC
gonna have
sponsored
a-
by Nike.
They're just
I
going to
think
have
we're-
a Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State logo on their helmet, and it's just going to get wide open compared to where it is right now, which is wide open compared to where it was 10 years ago, like Bill was saying.
Well, the definition of amateur is fudged now. We've come a long way since Jim Thorpe had to give up his medals for playing one season of minor league baseball, where he got probably
Oh yeah,
nickels and dimes for playing. Eventually,
Yeah.
they corrected that, but now the NBA plays in
But
the
he was
Olympics,
dead
right?
when they corrected it.
WNBA.
Issues. We were talking issues, and then we got a question we went
Gary-
back to. We got to go back to it. Gary, what is the number one issue affecting America right now?
Well,
What is
William kind of stole mine, so I'm going to drop back on my number two. I think one of the biggest problems in America today is the breakup of the family unit, which is the basic element of community. If you don't have a basic element of community, you're going to have all of these problems that we're having, that we're talking about. That you're going to have families split up. You're not going to have the cohesion that we have to have a good society. In fact, when you were in school at one point, the purposes of the schools were to make good citizens for the future. And that was your purpose in a family too, to make good citizens for the good of everybody. Now, we've done a whole lot of things in this country that are wonderful for the individual, absolutely wonderful for the individual, and they're absolutely terrible for society and the family unit. So that's my problem. We have an existential problem rather than a political or any of those other kinds of problems. If we could solve that problem, we could get people back together and loving each other as a family, then that would spread, I think, to the society in general. Unless we get rid of this me first attitude, that's not going to change.
Well, explain
Bill?
to me how. How do we do that?
I don't know. I think it's got to come from somewhere else other than people.
Oh
It's
yeah.
got to come from an inspiration above and beyond. We've had these kinds of renaissances before, and that may have to have all hit rock bottom. But think about how many kids now are being raised in single parent homes, when all of the studies, every study you will ever see, will say that for a good stable society, for a good stable country, that the ideal situation is for children to be raised by a husband and a wife, or at least some sort of that kind of arrangement, in a loving relationship that's willing to sacrifice themselves a little bit for the children, and for the children to be able to do their part too.
Yeah.
You know, you're not your son's buddy. Not when he's a kid. You're his dad, or you're his mom. He's got plenty of buddies. What they need is a mom and a dad, and people that are willing to step up and assume that role.
Tommy said Lincoln warned of sectional divide, got to see the end of red states and blue states. I absolutely 100% agree. We're a divided country now, and we got to figure out a way to get back together and care about each other. You know, the four of us, I won't even say which ones, but two of us, one's a hardcore Republican, one's a hardcore Democrat, and the other two are independents. One leans towards conservative and one leans towards liberal. But the four of us are friends, and ain't a damn thing you or anybody else can say to us that's going to affect our relationship. I don't give a shit what you say about anything. These guys are my friends until I'm dead. Period. There's nothing that can ever come between that. And that's what you got to feel. I had a friend's wife that I was his friend for, a good friend. I won't mention any names. And we were friends for my whole life. And my friend passed away, and I kept up with his wife in a fatherly, brotherly kind of manner until one of the elections about 6-7 years ago. And I got this, I said some bad things about a candidate online, and I got a horrible email from this person. And they said, I cannot be your friend if you're going to act like this. You have changed. You're not like you were 25 years ago. Thank God I changed. That's what the world's saying. But ended the relationship with this person. Said, I don't want anything to do with you ever again because of your political affiliations. I got screwed up political affiliations. And that's I absolutely agree with you, Tommy.
Well, we need to be red, white, and blue states instead of red and blue. If we don't come down to America first, we're going to crumble just like the Romans.
Well,
yeah, I don't see unity.
Well, I think you have to come up with a better philosophy than the really narrow, really shallow, opportunistic kind of philosophy that America first is. It just only works to get your vote, but it doesn't do much after that.
Well, I'm demagogues and people that walk in lockstep just because somebody claims to be a Republican or claims to be a Democrat. And it doesn't matter what the other guy says. It's automatically not only wrong and stupid, it's evil. I am thoroughly bewildered by some of this, and also thoroughly disgusted by the fact that everybody seems to walk in lockstep. Look, I don't agree. I have good friends, and we pretty much agree on a lot of stuff, but I don't agree with everything they do or say, and they don't agree with everything I do or say. And to say that, oh, just because he's infallible because he's a Democrat or he's infallible because he's a Republican is crap. That's just crap.
It is.
If it's a good idea, it's a good idea. And if it's a bad idea, it's a bad idea. You know, a rose by any other thing would smell as sweet, and shit stinks no matter what you call it.
I'm not a Republican. Go ahead, Gary. I'm sorry. I'm not a Republican, and I'm not a Democrat. I'm an American. Period.
That's right.
And that's the way we all got to look at each other. And if we don't do that, we may collapse.
Well, we examine the idea. Would a reasonable person say or do these things? Examine the idea. Don't see where it's coming from, but look at the idea. If it's a good idea, it's a good idea. If it's not, it's not. Now, there's some wiggle room there. There's some gray areas, but there's certain things that are just stupid. Don't do that. And there's certain things that's, oh, man, that's a great idea. Let's all do that. Gary has a rule. This is Gary's rule number one. If everybody did this, would it be a good idea? If everybody did this, would it be a good idea? And if the answer to that question is no, then we better look at it hard.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Going back to Tommy's question about unity and red states and blue states, could I put up, Bill, could I put up Andrea's comment from a little while ago that applies here really quickly? So campaign finance reform for some that would help a third party succeed. It's possible that you could get together enough people from the middle, that are willing to become independent of Democrats and Republicans, and a third party would succeed. And I think that would really get some attention and move things in the right direction. If we could do that, if we were unified, if we weren't, just in lockstep, like Gary said, if we thought for ourselves and worked together, then we could change. We could change a lot.
Well, why do
That's
we even
it.
need 2 parties or 3 parties? Just go on. You got Congress, vote on it, majority rules, or
Well, the
2/3 rules,
problem is
whatever.
the 2 parties that are there now are bought and paid for.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We
Get rid of
we
them.
don't have any influence over them because they are, like I said, bought and paid for by the donor class.
Well,
We can
and
talk
no,
about who the
and
donor
all-
class is, but they are owned by big money in this country.
Well, I wish I had some of that big money.
Oh, don't we
people
all?
think, yeah, people
And-
think
and
that
they-
somebody represents their best interest because they've got a R or a D after their name. Sometimes they don't. They're at their own best interest.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Another comment we had was, what do you gentlemen think about recent studies about nonverbal autism and telekinesis? I have no clue.
Nonverbal autism. Well, aren't by definition some autistic folks nonverbal?
Yes, they are.
Well, my son is autistic. He's got issues, but he's verbal.
But he's not nonverbal.
He's-
I'll tell you
No,
that.
No,
he's
he's not.
verbal.
No, he ain't nonverbal with a damn.
I don't know what telekinesis is. Is that where you can move stuff with your brain?
You move stuff with your mind. That's an X-Men thing. I'm
Okay.
not sure we're
Let's-
ready for that yet.
I don't
We're not
believe
ready for
that.
We're not. Okay, we'll go back to Tommy. Interesting to think about third parties looking at stats not voting would have won the 2024 election. If third parties could harness those numbers, it would be huge.
I
Yes, it
agree.
would.
Uh,
Yes,
it
it would.
roughly
People are reluctant.
1/3 of the people in this last election voted Republican, 1/3 voted Democrat, and 1/3 didn't vote. So there's a
So
lot
a third
of-
party could win.
yeah.
Well, maybe that's
Could
what
get
we
them
need to
together.
do. Why don't we get together and blend all of us, and the 4 of us come up with a new party, and everybody
there are
watching
third
this join the
parties.
party. We'll come
You got
up
the
with it.
libertarian and
All right, next week when we come back on Intelligent Remnants, we'll have a third party, and we'll start one from here, and we'll call it the Independent Party or something. We'll come up with a good catchy name. We'll work on that. Another comment by Tommy. How do y'all think rational ignorance as a concept factors into third party weakness? How do y'all think rational ignorance as
I
a
think
concept?
what that maybe what he means is rationalizing certain things that you don't look for a reason other than the fact that that's the reason that you establish. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You rationalize something that you've done on the basis of your own preconceived notions and prejudices. You're not really looking for an answer. You're looking for justification. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Sort of.
Well, that's why you're the smart one. You can figure that out. Tavares, thanks for the time, fellas. Appreciate the conversation. Tavares, thank you. Or
Thank you. Yeah.
Torvus.
Yeah.
I'm not. If I'm saying your name wrong, I'm sorry. I apologize. Torvus, thank you for coming and visiting us here at Intelligent Ramblings. We're here every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. and we'll go till we feel like not going
9-ish.
anymore. 9-ish, but we're gonna
9-ish.
run over a little bit tonight. Tommy is saying Intelligent Ramblings 2028. Hey,
That's
All
the
right.
ticket.
there's the ticket,
I like
buddy. I
That's
like
it.
it.
That's it.
But speaking about issues, I never got to say. I know the public out there is waiting to hear what my issue is. What I think
I
is
asked
the
you.
most. Did you ask me? I didn't hear you, Gary. I
I
must have been
asked
running
you.
my mouth.
Well, we got
Ask me-
we got sidetracked.
Ask me again, Gary.
Bill, what's your number one issue for this country?
My number one issue. Okay, climate change is my number one issue. You can stop the wars. You can win or lose elections. Vanderbilt could win the national championship. But without addressing climate change, none of us will be here to give a damn about issues. Causes: generating power, manufacturing goods, cutting down forests, you evil people, using transportation, producing food, powering buildings, consuming too much. What can that affect? Changes in the hydrological cycle, warmer land and air, warming oceans, melting sea and ice and glaciers, rising sea levels, ocean acidification, global greening, and changes in current ocean currents. The main thing that you can take out of that from what I'm saying is that, have you noticed the hurricanes are getting bigger and more frequent? Have you noticed the forest fires are getting bigger and more frequent? Have you noticed the snowstorms are getting hit? Hell, it snowed in Florida last week. I'm talking 8 inches in Florida. This is all climate change. And if you don't get a hold on this stuff, we got about 50 years and this place is going to burn. So we got to do something about it. That's my issue is climate change. And it affects all of us, and there's and we got to do something about it, and we got to do something about it soon.
All right.
I have no argument with that.
Rational ignorance is a concept where it's not worth the time for people to learn about politics because it doesn't matter too much in everyday life, and they need to make money with that time. That makes sense.
I guess I'm rationally ignorant because I need to make money.
Well,
I make $90 a day.
That's kind of what I suggested, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You find time to other things. You rationalize away this that it's not really affected me that much.
People don't care.
No, they don't.
Thanks for that explanation, Tommy. That was good.
That was good.
People don't care,
Yeah.
and that's the problem right now. And it's up to somebody like us to
Care.
make people care, make people aware. Maybe we can do that on our show, and that's what we do. Is we talk about the issues that are happening around us at that very time, and we discuss it, and we try to figure out ways we can fix it. And with people's help, like Tommy and Tavares and Andrea, we're making headway. We're doing something that can make a difference. All right, here's one more comment by Torbas. We'd love to hear you all chime in when it's appropriate for a population to step up and more actively fighting against reject fascism versus when it's over dramatic to claim such things are occurring. Well, it's absolutely occurring. Ask the Proud Boys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you ask me, that's what they're about.
All right.
Yeah, I don't disagree that it's happening out there. I don't know what form it's in, but I do not like what's happening, and haven't liked it for some time. Like over the last 2 or 3 elections, the last 30 or 40 years, it's been going this way the whole time, and I don't think it's over dramatic to claim that it's going on out there.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the time, folks. Got to catch Narcos with the family. Highly recommend the show. Keep up the good conversation. Tommy, we more than appreciate you being here, and we look forward to hearing from you again next Wednesday night at 8 p.m. here on Intelligent Ramblings.
All righty.
Guys, we've had a pretty good conversation. We've had a great night. And anybody got any parting thoughts? Make it about 30 seconds or less.
Well, I'm speaking on behalf of the church for the next few Sundays.
All right.
That's good.
I'm in Buford this coming Sunday. And guys, I'm at Jefferson First United Methodist Church on February 16th.
What about it?
How about that?
How
Maybe
about
you can go home again, huh?
Well, that's good. I'm still subbing, so I'm working. Like make that $90 a day by the time they take out Social Security on me,
Yes, they
federal
do.
income tax,
Mhm.
and I don't know something else. 3 things come out.
Tax
So I
me,
make about
tax me
60.
again.
I make about $60 a day.
Tax me, tax me, tax me, tax me again. And then when I get old and dying, then I got to pay taxes again. If anybody happens to be at the Hot Chocolate 5K, 10K, whatever it is in Atlanta Sunday morning, I will be on the race somewhere as a event photographer with a white, yellow, the guy with a camera that you run by and smile and wave at a lot so you can get your picture taken. I'm one of those guys. So Sunday morning in Atlanta, I'll be there photographing the Hot Chocolate. If you're gonna be there, give me a shout out. You won't be able to miss me. I'll be wearing a black coveralls, trying to
Yeah.
stay warm, and we'll look for you there. I'll be the good-looking one with the camera.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, you can find me, I think, online on if you go to the new Prospect UMC website out of Buford, the 11 o'clock service. So I think you can
Everybody,
find
we
me
appreciate
online.
we appreciate you guys showing up, and we love the conversation. It was great, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody next week on Intelligent Ramblings.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.